and you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great and I'll put together a package specifically for your business. Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joynetradio.com. Here's the number. Call me 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you in building your brand.
Hi, I'm attorney Gil Thompson from Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help you to legal matter. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Gil Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
It's like my very own personal training studio. A kick above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Leverett and her certified personal trainers even offered nutritional guidelines for my personal workout. It's about me at A Kick Above. Call 501-868-8850 or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to A Kick Above, I look marvelous.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of a life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
You guys, the Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
Yo, what's happening? How you doing? It's Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. Woo. Man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Y'all, are y'all strapped up yet? Y'all better get strapped, I'm telling you. Had a bombing somewhere in Ohio where black and white couple was together. Had swastikas painted on their cars. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. You know, they already shooting and killing folks. We got a sergeant done bust out their police department talking about there are white supremacists in that department. We're gonna talk about that today as well. You know, it done got real out there, y'all. Are y'all ready? Man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Stay tuned. By the way, go ahead and tell us about it. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend that Black Focus Radio is on the air. You know what we say. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. If you want to call me up and talk to me, you can. We'd love to have you. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. Robert Webb is going to be out today, so it's just going to be me. But you know how I roll. We still go get this thing done. That's how we do it. What's up, Cliff? What's up, Burley? George, appreciate you joining me today. I will be posting the Black Focus Radio YouTube link here in just a moment. Sometimes I forget to do that. If you will, do me a favor. Go out and, if y'all notice, I got my new little logo up there too. It's looking good. If y'all will, go out and go ahead and tell somebody about that. Spread the word. And go to YouTube and subscribe. I got a new subscriber yesterday on YouTube. I don't even know her. But it's pretty cool. So, good for that. So I need you all to go out and subscribe. We're up to 12 now. Woo! We're on our way to 1,000. So I need your help. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's pretty simple. Black Focus Radio. Just go out and Google it, and then check out my. And you'll know once you get to the YouTube page because you will see my logo. Okay, so for the show is that fancy painting that I've recently started using, which is really, really nice, from Kansas City. So go check that out if you don't mind. All right. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but before we do that, it's kind of like an appetizer. You know, when you go out to dinner, that is a real dinner. You kind of get an appetizer, something to wet your whistle a little bit. It might be a drink, it might be something crunchy, but you get a little appetizer, right? So our Black Facts is the appetizer for the show to come. So you got a good one for you again today. So let's go ahead and jump into Black Facts.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
All right, today's Black Fact is by, or at least it's about, the African origin of civilization. Okay? Now, this is by, I read something similar yesterday. Let me make sure I'm not reading the same thing. Okay. Oh, no. This is by Sheikh Anta Diop. This is the African origin of civilization. And by the way, this is from the book, The African Origins of Civilization by Sheikh Anta Diop. You've heard me talk about him. This book is on my book list that I still haven't posted. But I'm gonna get it posted here the next day or so. I'm gonna post it. Let me tell you like this. So I have Microsoft Office, and Microsoft Office is trying to charge me $79 a year to use the product that I've been using for years on other computers once I purchased it. I'm not about that. So I'm transitioning all my documents to Google Docs. Okay? So I just thought I'd let y'all know that. All right? So this one is about Sheikh Anta Diop. It's called Critical Thinking at its Best. When he is done explaining the science and physics of human genomes and genetics to you, all the pieces began to come together. The truth is truly unbelievable. The ancient Egyptians were Negroes. The moral fruit of their civilization is to be counted among the assets of the black world. One only needs to meditate on Osiris, the Redeemer God, who sacrifices himself, dies, and is resurrected to save mankind. A figure virtually identifiable with Christ. And we know that the Bible presented to us is virtually a copy of the Egyptian morals and laws textbook. A visitor to Thebes in the Valley of the Kings can view the Muslim inferno in detail in the tomb of Seti I of the 19th dynasty. 1700 years before the Quran, Osiris sits at a tribunal of the dead and is indeed the Lord of revealed religions, sitting on a throne on Judgment Day. And we know that certain biblical passages are practically copies of the Egyptian moral texts. Far be it from me to confuse this brief reminder with a demonstration. It is simply a matter of providing a few landmarks to persuade the incredulous Black African reader to bring himself to verify this. To his great son's surprise and satisfaction, he will discover that most of the ideas used today to domesticate, atrophy, dissolve, or steal his soul were conceived by his own ancestors. To become conscious of that fact is perhaps the first step toward a genuine retrieval of himself. Without it, intellectual sterility is the general rule. In a word, we must restore the historical consciousness of African people. Once this perspective is accepted, the history of humanity will become clear and the history of Africa can be written. But any undertaking in this field that adopts compromise as its point of departure, as if it were possible to split the difference or the truth in half, would run the risk of producing nothing more than alienation. Only a loyal, determined struggle to destroy cultural aggression and bring about the truth, whatever it might be, is revolutionary and a consonant with real progress. It is the only approach. Similarly, it is not a matter of looking for the Negro under a magnifying glass as one scans the past. A great people have nothing to do with petty history, nor the ethnographic reflections sorely in need of renovation. It matters little that some Black individuals may have existed elsewhere. The essential factor is to retrace the history of the entire nation. Woo! Oh, I'm sorry. Woo! The great Sheikh Anta Diop. My brothers and sisters, let me read a little of this quote to you again. To his great surprise and satisfaction, he will discover that most of the ideas used today to domesticate, atrophy, dissolve, or steal his soul were conceived by his own ancestors. To become conscious of that fact is perhaps the first step toward a genuine retrieval of himself. Without it, intellectual sterility is the general rule. And that's our Black Fact for today.
Listening to Black Focus Radio. For more dynamic Black facts, our culture, our history, our people, on JourneyRadio.com.
All right, if you want to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, call me up at 615-554-0568. Also, we're moving into the buying season. If you want to advertise, now's the time to start getting the word out about your product. So give me a call. Let's get you hooked up. Let's get you out there. Let me help you make some money. All right? Okay. You know, sometimes we do Black Facts and you don't have to even talk about them. You just let them just sit out there and marinate. Woo! You know, there was something interesting in this piece as well that I read that you need to hear this again because we need to understand. I tell people all the time, if you want to find out where you're going, then you got to be able to know where you've been. Okay? So ancient Egyptians were Negroes. The moral fruit of their civilization is to be counted among the assets of the black world. One only needs to meditate on Osiris, the Redeemer God, who sacrifices himself, dies and is resurrected to save mankind, a figure virtually identifiable with Christ. And we know that the Bible presented to us is virtually a copy of the Egyptian morals and laws textbook. A visitor to Thebes in the Valley of the Kings can view the Muslim inferno in detail in the tomb of Seti I in the 19th dynasty, 1700 years before the Quran. So Dr. Diop in this piece makes two very, very interesting points. So you Bible thumpers out there who thought I read this piece to attack the Bible, no, I didn't. You Quran thumpers out there who thought I read the piece to attack the Quran, no, I didn't. I read this piece, and this piece is important because what this says is that Osiris, the Redeemer God, who was modeled after Jesus, or I should say, whom Jesus is modeled after, existed thousands of years before the Bible and the Quran. This book right here, when I read this passage the first time, it began to come clear with me. Remember I told you all, the book list that I developed it because I was at a crossroads in my life when I was about 26, 27. I'm a spiritual person, but I was brought up Christian. And I didn't like what I saw with Christians. And a lot of things, because I'm also an analytical person, a logical thinking person, some of the things that I read didn't make sense. So I went on this quest. I wanted to, all right, let me go and research. That's what I do. Let me go research. Let me go read. Because I want to be a good Christian. But then I started listening to Islam and the black Muslims. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute, do I want to be a black Muslim? And the only answer for me was to research for myself. And I ran across this book in my research, among others. And it became clear to me that neither one of them should any of us be worshiping. All of those are nothing more than creations of where it all began, and that was the Egyptian mystery system, which is the Egyptian morals and laws textbook. Just thought I'd throw that out there. 855-525-5683. Now I know some of y'all, see, David, I told you, David is the devil. David is the devil. Yeah, some probably would call me that. Anytime you speak truth, anytime you drop in knowledge, people will call you the devil. People, because they don't understand you. They don't understand your truth. When all they have to do is go back and read it for themselves. But see, so many of us we have been so jaded and so brainwashed and so indoctrinated that when truth hits us in the face, we fail to even acknowledge it. Classic example of that right now is going on in America, and that is climate change. Did you know that, I think, Ethiopia, let me pull up that, Ethiopia, other parts of the world understand climate change. But apparently, there are some in America who refuse to accept it because of money. But Ethiopia just planted a record 353 million trees in 12 hours. Hello? You know why they did that? They did it because they understand that we have to combat climate change. And there are people in America who refuse to acknowledge and accept climate change. That's because of indoctrination. That's because of brainwashing. But if you really want to break your mold, if you really want to find yourself, look, I'm going to tell you, I don't make a lot of money. I'm not rich. I don't live in a fancy house, and I don't drive a fancy car. But you know what I am? I am free. My mind is free. And all the money in the world could not make me change. I want to read the tease to you today about what we're talking about. I want to read this to you because I think it's important. And I was listening to Dr. Boyce Watkins this morning, and I found it very profound. And, you know, it's always great when, you know, you are talking, when you're doing a show and what you say on your show is echoed in other biospheres. And I'm going to tell you why that's important today. So we're going to talk about some sports, but it really isn't about sports today. The Rich Paul rule is bigger than sports. We'll discuss this very important ruling by the NCAA, how it affects our community, and how we should respond. Also, we'll talk a little bit about the police officer. In fact, we'll play that here in a moment. The police officer who calls out her top brass. The question is, how many other police departments across the country are ripe with racism and corruption? And where's Tucker Carlson? Apparently, after his ignorant rant, he's taking a leave of absence, which Fox says they were planning to do that anyway. So we got all that on the agenda. But before we do that, I want to talk quickly about this police officer. So I'm going to play you, and you need to go out to Jordan Radio and download that app. So this piece was done on CBS News this morning, I believe. Not this morning, but their morning show. And it's a black police sergeant. And she talks about, well, I'll just let you listen to it. Hang on just a second.
We're getting greater insight from police officers about the challenges of fighting racism inside a department. A growing number of police departments in America's largest cities told us provided implicit bias training. But hundreds of officers in multiple states have recently been exposed for racist social media posts attacking minorities and promoting racial stereotypes. Jeff McGay spoke to one St. Louis police sergeant whose department has officers at the center of that controversy. He continues our investigation into policing in America 5 years after Ferguson. Jeff, what did that officer tell you?
The St. Louis Metro Police officer that you're about to hear from says the culture among her department's top brass is allowing bad cops to slip through the cracks. When we asked if the department had training to address possible racial bias, the answer wasn't clear. Do you think that there are white supremacists on the police force?
Yes.
You don't even pause.
Have you seen some of the Facebook posts of some of our suspended officers lately? Yes.
Heather Taylor is an almost 19-year veteran on the St. Louis Metro Police Force. She points to the recent report by the Point of View Project, which flagged thousands of racist and derogatory social media posts, including some from 22 current St. Louis Metro officers like this one who compared Black Lives Matter to the KKK. As president of the Ethical Society of Police, a predominantly black local union, Taylor's mission is to root out racial discrimination among police. Protests in Ferguson took place about 10 miles from St. Louis Metro PD headquarters and led to changes in training there. SLMPD told CBS News in a survey that implicit bias training has been mandatory for officers once a year since October of 2014. That's 2 months after Michael Brown's death. Implicit bias training, they've had that here.
Yes.
Has it worked?
I think that's pretty obvious that it hasn't.
If implicit bias training is mandatory, it doesn't seem to have left an impression on Heather Taylor. Have you been through it?
No, it was optional.
Okay. Lieutenant Cheryl Orange, a patrol officer for the department, says she doesn't remember taking it either. Wasn't it mandatory?
Not that I recall, but it may have been.
We've been trying to get SLMPD's police chief to comment on our CBS News investigations and found a majority of departments nationwide are adding training to address possible racial bias. Over a period of months, there have been phone calls, emails, and each and every time the police department has declined our request for interviews.
There's a change.
So we went to the man who hired the police chief. Jimmy Edwards is the public safety director for the city of St. Louis. He had an officer tell us she knows that there are white supremacists on the police force.
I'm not surprised. My job is to root that person out.
Implicit bias training isn't mandatory for all officers.
Yes, it is mandatory.
We've talked to officers who don't remember taking implicit bias classes.
Well, everybody in the city of St. Louis partaking in implicit bias training.
And they can't remember it?
I don't know. That's a good question for them.
That's odd.
It is not.
Wow.
Edwards says use of force incidents are down in St. Louis City, which he credits to new training. But he also concedes police have a long way to go before he can assure a black mother he met that changes have taken hold in the department.
She asked me, can you change our police department? Because every time my little black boy encounters a police, I think one or two things is going to happen. That my child will lose his liberty and go to prison. Or that my child will die. We have challenges. But we're overcoming those challenges a bit at a time.
Taylor says that should include better screening of applicants and breaking down what some have called the blue wall of silence, a term for police cover-ups of internal wrongdoing. Your fellow officers, they might see your comments and be offended. How do you go back to work after making comments like that?
Because when you know you're doing right, you can hold your head up. I don't think that all of our department is bad, but instead of complaining about me, how about you do something to change the culture that you know exists?
It is still unknown whether any police training technique could impact trends in use of force. One reason is because there's never been a federal use of force database to study. But for the first time, the FBI is now creating one, and we're going to have an exclusive report on that tomorrow, including an interview with the man leading that effort.
Good piece. Now, why am I playing that? Well, the reason I'm playing it is because, most importantly, training doesn't work. Right? These police shootings have been going on for decades, and all we hear is, well, we need better training. We need better training. We need better training. You know, here's leadership to me. So let's say, for instance, I live in one city A. I'm not going to identify any particular city. Let's say I live in city A. All right? And city B has a racial incident where a cop shoots and kills a black kid in city B. Now, leadership, if there was leadership in city A, they would not sit back and wait until something happens in city A like it did in city B. They would say, hey, wait a minute. Whoa, we don't want that happening in our city. So we're going to start putting forward steps to solve that problem. One step, training. Although we know training has never changed the hearts of anyone. All right? Never. So training is good because then you got a HR document to say Bob took this training, so when Bob screws up, Bob can be kicked to the curb very easily. All right? because Bob signs and understands the rules and regulations based on this training. And if you violate this training, then you will be fired immediately with no back pay. All right? So that's one way you can solve the problem. But we know the people in City A, the officials in City A, they don't work that way. Look at across the country. Look at how many of these shootings. And I'm not talking about the mass shootings. I'm talking about police brutality. But the mass shootings still work the same way. Nobody in City A looked out on the horizon and saw what was going on and said, hey, I don't want that in my city. So we're going to start putting together, putting things in place to at least either try to stop it or limit it. No city has done that yet, unfortunately. None. None. So I'm a little reluctant to believe anyone when they say, we're going to train you. Because you don't have to train anyone not to be a racist. Everybody in their hearts know racism is wrong and should be illegal. You don't have to train, you can't train that out of people. Racism is in a person's heart. Racism is their ideology, as I said the other day. You're not going to train that out of anyone. Look, I can go take a training on anything, pass the damn training, and still come out with the same attitude. Training does nothing. Training, let me say that again. Training nothing. Trying to train a racist not to be a racist ain't gonna happen. Look, some of these racists have grandchildren who are mixed. And when I say mixed, a black parent, they're still racist. If you can't love your beautiful mixed grandchild because he or she has black blood in them, nothing's gonna change you, bro. We're wasting our time trying to train people out of racism. It doesn't work. The only thing that affects people are their pocketbooks. Which brings me to the main story today. I want to talk a little bit. Let me make sure I covered everything here before I get into this, because we'll spend quite a bit of this on the show today. Oh, I know what else I want to talk about with that. So the question is, does Little Rock Police Department, were they part of, in fact, I think I'm going to reach out. Since no one else has, I'm going to reach out to that organization who did that study to see if they've studied Little Rock or can it be studied. I'd be curious to know what Little Rock Police feel about the black community in this city, the minorities in this city. Because I would argue that they're racist. Look, they live in Arkansas. There are 8,000 plus Ku Klux Klan white supremacists in this city. That covers all of them. All right? And many of those white supremacists reside around cities and counties right here in Little Rock. And 80% of the white police officers on the Little Rock Police Department live in those counties. Hello? What are the odds? Let me clarify that for you again. Okay? There are over 8,000 plus white supremacists that make their home in Little Rock, in the state of Arkansas. Now, if they can count 8,000, it may be about 12,000 or more. But we'll go with the number 8,000. Those white supremacists live and reside and work in and around Arkansas. But more importantly, they live. 80% of the Little Rock Police Department lives outside of Pulaski County, which is where Little Rock resides. What are the odds that Many of those police officers have crossed paths with those white supremacists, and they know it. So the question is, and the question that leaders ought to be asking is, number one, do we have that problem? That's a rhetorical question because I think we all know the answer to that. But more importantly, not only do we have that problem in Little Rock, what is Little Rock doing preemptively to remove those people from the police force? Because they need to go. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I say that because many of y'all may not be old enough, but go back and Google Tom Metzger. Tom Metzger was one of the most famous Klansmen back in the day, and they ended up killing a black man. The black man's family sued Tom Metzger and its organization, the KKK. And it broke the back of the KKK. And for a long time, you didn't hear about the KKK. You have to go after their money. When you go back and look at those successful prosecutions, no, they didn't just go after the people. They went after their institutions. They went after their money. I believe Tom Metzger is still paying the black guy's family. And you didn't hear much more about Tom Metzger, did you? There's a method to my madness here, ladies and gentlemen. Just bear with me. I know I sound like a preacher, but just bear with me for a moment here, because this is important. This is how this LeBron James thing ties into all of this. All right? So Tucker Carlson, you heard Robert talking about it yesterday, said that white supremacy is a hoax. And he said that on that radio station, that television station, Fox. We know Fox News is full of lies and all kinds. Well, it's full of a lot of other stuff too, but I won't say that. Tucker Carlson now has taken a leave of absence. You say Fox News doesn't fan the flames of racism, of bigotry, of white supremacy. You had your number one host on in prime time the other night say that white supremacy is a hoax. Yet he benefits from it every day by doing a radio show on that station, fanning the flames of, guess what? White supremacy. But now everything's okay now. There's a pattern at Fox. When their hosts come out and say something stupid and ignorant, Fox will say they went on vacation. They've taken a leave of absence. Laura Ingraham did that a couple of months ago. Y'all remember, right? There's a pattern here. Sean Hannity, all of them. There's a pattern here. These people are smart enough. Look, they are in the same business that I'm in. They just make a lot more money than I do. These people are wordsmiths. They know how to phrase things and say things and use the correct wording in order to elicit a response. That's what I do here every day. The only difference in them and me is that I deal in fact. They deal in lies. And you know, when you deal in lies, it's easier for you to fabricate. So now Tucker Carlson has been suspended. Or, oh, that's right, he's on a leave of absence. And you wonder why racism still exists in this city, in this country, in your state. Because the number one news channel is Fox News. Y'all know that, right? According to Nielsen. They got a whole lot of racists watching that channel. Now, I preface this next subject with all of that because this is important for us to understand. It's so important for us to understand. This is not a sports segment. This is how sports bleeds over into everyday life. And this is why I take black athletes to task. This is why I take Michael Jordan to task. Because you as a black athlete, you don't have the right to ignore your people's pain. You do it, but you don't have the right. Because when you are back on the heap of humanity, the least of our brothers and sisters, they will ignore you. They will laugh at you. They will make fun of you. So for years, I've told you that I am a LeBron James fan. Not because of what he does on the basketball court, which is magnificent. Let me take that back, which is blacknificent. I'm a fan of him as a black man. And I'll tell you why. See, when LeBron came out, before they had the one and done rule, LeBron came out at 18 years old. At the time, because I had done a little research on LeBron, we had did a feature on him on the show. We had talked about LeBron a lot. We were concerned, I was concerned as a black father about this 18-year-old kid being thrown to the wolves with all that money and not really much of a familial background. Not much of a support system. The only thing that carried him was basketball. We see our young black males do this all the time. But oh, was I wrong. Look at LeBron now. I thought he was going to crash and burn after a few years in the league. It wasn't until I began to follow him to see what he was all about that I began to say, wait a minute. Even though his mom was a nut, this young man had been schooled. Because not only did he begin to build his own empire, his black empire, he used black people to do that. Teammates, friends, Rich Paul, who, if I remember correctly, he met Rich Paul in a airport doing a layover. And Paul goes up and introduces himself. The rest is history. We now have Clutch Sports. LeBron had an uncanny awareness of who he was and what he wanted to be. And he knew that I got to reach back and save some of my brothers and sisters. And that's what he did. He built an empire. But not only that, LeBron decided that he was going to take his career into his own hands. After he had languished for years in Cleveland, dragging that team to an NBA Finals, he realized that his white owner, Dan Gilbert, was only interested in one thing, and that was to capitalize off of LeBron's back. And he refused to surround him with players. LeBron then decided that he would go to Miami to win a championship and contact some of his other friends and say, hey, let's go play together. That sent the world in a tizzy. And all of a sudden, that LeBron James, that the ESPNs of the world and all of the sports leaders of the world love so much, turned on LeBron. Now let's put a pin in that for a moment as I move on, because I want to come back to that point. LeBron went on to become one of the best, the best player in this modern times. But then he did something else. Not only did he go to Miami, he made $3 million for Boys and Girls Clubs that people never talk about. He also promised all the kids from Akron if they got a certain GPA, that he would make sure that they could go to college. And then he took it even further and decided that he would build a school in a failing area of Akron, Ohio, where that school today is outperforming most of the schools in that area. Even before then, it was LeBron James who decided, when we heard about the horrific murder of Trayvon Martin, that it was LeBron James who decided that he would take on this burden. And around the league, you saw black men for the first time standing as one. That was led by LeBron James. When Daniel Sterling came out with his racist diatribe, it was LeBron James. Nothing was being done until LeBron James was asked by a media member, "What do you think about Sterling?" And LeBron said, to some extent, he doesn't deserve to be a owner in this league. I go back now to when LeBron James decided to take his career into his own hands. For that first time, the slave was free. The slave had made it to the river, and he could look across that river and he could see freedom. He didn't see trees. He didn't see the depth of that river. He didn't see the blue sky on the other side. He didn't see the perils that awaited him if he had once he's out of the river and into the forest. All that slave saw was freedom. And that slave was LeBron James. And from that point forward, the media and its cohorts have sought to destroy LeBron James. Oh, LeBron is this, LeBron is that. No one wants to play with LeBron. They've sought to destroy him. By the way, this is the same man who is married his high school sweetheart, who have 3 children. You don't hear about him screwing and sleeping with everything that walks down the sidewalk. In fact, you don't hear much about LeBron James as a leader, as a person, except when he steps out to excel. Now, why is this important? Why am I taking so much time on my daily show when I could be talking about LeBron on the weekly sports magazine? And I do. But something happened yesterday that I found totally abhorrent. And maybe you all don't get this, but I'm going to try to break it down for you. And I listened to Dr. Boyce Watkins this morning, and you can go out and watch that 15-minute video that he put out. But what he says is what I've been echoing. Let me just give you the background. A new NCAA policy requiring agents advising prospective NBA players to have a college degree has some wondering if Rich Paul is the target or LeBron James. Now, this is from Yahoo Sports. The Los Angeles Lakers star and friend, client and business partner Paul slammed the rule on Twitter on Tuesday, dubbing it the Rich Paul rule, while labeling the NCAA as big, mad, and scared. Now, you're wondering, how is it that LeBron James can scare the NCAA? Folks, this is important. Here's the requirements. The NCAA basketball players are currently allowed to declare for the draft and hire an agent as a consultant and still maintain their college eligibility if they decide against turning pro. On Tuesday, John Rothstein reported that CBS Sports, John Rothstein reported that the NCAA placed eligibility restrictions on who qualifies to represent those prospective players. One of those rules disqualifies Rich Paul. Now, Rich Paul has multiple athletes, including LeBron James. So here's the criteria that the NCAA said that if you're gonna if you're gonna talk to our slaves, then you gotta have a slave card. That's what it said to me. Now the criteria was you gotta have a bachelor's degree. You also have to be certified with the NBPA for a minimum of 3 years and take an in-person exam at the NCAA office in Indianapolis. Look, I'm a businessman. I don't have to take a damn thing, no test for the NCAA, number one. But the bachelor's degree is curious. Now, some of you all might say, well, hey, what's wrong with a bachelor's degree? Nothing. But we know, did you know that Michael Dell didn't have a bachelor's degree? Did you know that the head of Microsoft didn't have a bachelor's degree? Hello? So to make the argument to say, oh, before you can mess with any of our athletes, you got to have a bachelor's degree is a bunch of crap. And the only one that doesn't have a bachelor's degree is Rich Paul. Now, you may not understand where I'm going with this, so you're going to have to hang on for this ride. Because, see, this is what they do. Now, remember, the fact that they are allowing athletes now to have an agent is new. You used to couldn't have an agent. But they have began to bow to pressure because people are beginning to understand and realize that the billions of dollars that you're making off of these young black athletes, and they benefit, they don't even get 1/10 of 1% of that money. And don't tell me just because LSU can build a $28 million locker room, that's for the athletes. Bush crap. Almost said something. So they have begun to bow to the pressure that, wait a minute, Nick Saban can make $9 million. Do I need to bring up the accounts? Do I need to go out and find out the highest paid coaches? Folks, this is so profound. You got to understand that when you take one of these young men out of our community, that hurts our community. And especially when you send him back and he doesn't have anything that you promised. Don't y'all understand where I'm going now? So now you're saying that Rich Paul, or you're saying if I am enterprising and I decide, you know what, I don't need to go to college, but I can represent people. You're saying I got to go to college before I can represent ABC basketball player? Let me tell you something. Think about it from this perspective. How many athletes have you heard of that have went broke? How many? Quite a few. Now, how many of those athletes had black financial advisors, black lawyers, black agents? I would argue that very few. And that argument can be backed up because we know there were not many of those people, us, in those positions. So when that athlete goes broke, it's usually in a lot of sense because of not his entourage, but the people that are handling his money, his agent, his lawyer, his financial advisor, usually all white. And many of them have bachelor's degrees. So what you're telling me is, if someone has a bachelor's degree, that helps that kid from making a bad decision. Well, raise your hand right now, even if you're at your desk. They'll just think you're testifying. Raise your hand right now if you know someone who has a bachelor's degree who ain't worth a plug nickel. Raise your hand right now if you know someone who has a master's degree who is not worth a plug nickel. Hello? So just because you have a bachelor's degree doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. In fact, I know quite a few people who have bachelor's degrees and they're not even using it. But I want to share with you in the next hour the bigger picture here. This is more than about Rich Paul. Now here's a man. Let me just give you some of the names of the people that Rich Paul represents. Now, are they concerned that he doesn't have a bachelor's degree? LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green, Ben Simmons, and many other high-profile NBA athletes. Are they concerned that Rich Paul doesn't have a bachelor's degree? But the NCAA is. And it's all because of LeBron James. I'll explain next hour. Right now, we're going to go out and take the top of the hour break. Oh, yeah, it's about to get good. And I'm going to tell you how King James can wield his power and could shake up this entire nation. You say you want a leader, you might have one in LeBron James. Back in a moment. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices.
How many people have come up to you and said, hey, I didn't know you had a business? Yeah, that can happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution for you. Advertise on joinetradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your bottom line. It's only $125 for startup and new businesses. Call me, David W. Copeland, at 615-554-0568, and I'll put together a package specifically for your business. Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joinetradio.com. Here's the number. Call me, 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you in building your brand.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
I'm so glad I found a Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Leverett and her certified personal trainers even offered nutritional guidelines for my personal workout. It's about me at a Kick Above. Call 501-868-8850 or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to a Kick Above, I I look marvelous.
Mitchell Funeral Home welcomes all of Arkadelphia and Arkansas in Clark County since 1966. At Mitchell Funeral Home, they understand that the funeral is a celebration of life and legacy, so the entire staff takes great pride in the caring, personal, and professional services they provide. Cremations, funeral planning, burial policy, life insurance, notary, and monument sales are just a few of the services they offer. Flexible packages are available as well. Mitchell Funeral Home appreciates the trust and confidence placed in them and will continue to enhance their services so as to serve you better. Call now. Get connected. 870-246-2611. That's 870-246-2611. Call, click, or come by. MitchellFuneralServices.com. Don't wait till we're needed. Call us now. Let's walk through this together. 870-246-2611. It's quality you can appreciate and service you can depend on at Mitchell Funeral Home.
You got it. The Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
Archie Miller. He makes $3.2 million a year. John Beeline. He makes $3.3 million a year. Larry Kristoyak. He makes $3.39 million a year. Bob Huggins. $3.7 million a year. Sean Miller, the brother of Archie Miller, he makes $4 million a year. Tom Izzo, he makes $4.3 million a year. Bill Self, $4.9 million a year. Chris Holtman, he makes $7.1 million a year. John Calipari, $7.9 million a year. And Mike Krzyzewski, $8.9 million a year. Do y'all remember a couple of years ago when the University of Missouri football team decided, and let me give you some context here of where I'm going today, because it's important, and I advise you to go to my wall and listen to what Dr. Boyce Watkins was saying. This was November 2015. The Black Student Union on the campus of the University of Missouri had decided that they had had enough of the racism that went on that campus. They decided to strike. They decided to bring to bear so the nation could understand what was going on that campus. So much so that the head of the Black Student Union, Jonathan Butler, went on a hunger strike. He had been on a hunger strike for almost 2 weeks. He was quoted as saying, "My body aches." But he wanted change along with the black students. The president of that university ignored him. The chancellors ignored those black students, those cries for equality. But then there was a shot in the darkness. That darkness being black football players who said, wait a minute, if they feel that way about those black students, then how do they feel about us as black football players? Because at the end of the day, when I strip my moniker off of a football player, I'm nothing more than a black person. And if they're saying those things about black people, then they mean me too. So the football team decided that they would not play in any upcoming games until changes were made. They called the football team's bluff. They thought they were kidding. Those black players and that football team got what they wanted. Because the one thing that the University of Missouri understood was money. And see, where I'm going with this and talking about LeBron James today, this has everything to do with money and control. Those black students decided that, hey, we're not going to take this anymore, and Missouri was going to lose a minimum of $5 million for not playing. Estimates were they would lose $10 million. That does not even include the ancillary businesses that would have lost money. Let's talk about the concessions. Let's talk about the ticket sales, the parking, the restaurants, the liquor sales, the hotels and motels. All of that money that is generated on a day when the next time you go somewhere to a college football game, look around you. And don't look at the people, because when you see people, those people represent dollars. The gas, the rental agencies, whether I rented a van or a SUV or RV to come to the game, the new clothes or the new shoes, all of that was going to be lost by the University of Missouri. So they capitulated. Now, I know what they say. Now, what? Everything is okay now in Missouri. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Those students stood up, but unbeknownst to us, we didn't know that they were leaving a blueprint for how we could change this system without firing a shot. Now let me go back to LeBron James for a moment, because I need you to understand how this ties together. LeBron James didn't go to college. LeBron James doesn't have a bachelor's degree. LeBron James doesn't have an associate's degree. LeBron James doesn't have a master's degree or a doctorate. But what we've seen this man do is change the entire environment and the conversation about how players take control of their own destiny. And we're seeing it all over the league now. We're seeing it in other sports as well. LeBron James laid out the non-bachelor degree. LeBron James laid out the blueprint on how you beat the NCAA. So the NCAA doesn't want LeBron James and Rich Paul involved with potential players. Not understanding that their little rule. So if you're one of those kids who says, well, you know, I think I can go pro, and you hire an agent. Remember, they used to couldn't do this, but the NCAA had to capitulate on this as well. But you say, I'm going to hire an agent. You're probably not the guy that Rich Paul is going to hire, that is going to take your case. See, the Paul and LeBron's team, they go after the Zion Williamsons of the world. Not that guy who's on the fence. Now, certainly you can develop into a superstar. We've seen story after story with that. But those high-profile athletes that are definitely gone, Rich Paul is not going to even deal with them anyway. So your shot across the bow at LeBron and his crew, Clutch Sports, it was blank. But you need to be careful. And the reason I've been saying for the longest, and I was so glad to hear Dr. Boyce Watkins say the same thing. If we want to change this system, And he didn't use my words, but these are my words. If we want to change this system, you change the system by affecting the system's economic outcomes. We just saw yesterday when the trade war escalated between the United States and that fool in the White House, the Dow dropped damn near 600 points. You want to affect change in America, black people? He's sitting on your couch, or he might be going into your refrigerator, or he might be in his room on his computer playing Fortnite. He wears a size 11 or 12 shoe. He can jump out of the gym and run fast as lightning. He being your black son, who is being hounded by white universities all over this country. He's the key. He can stop this. We can stop this. All we have to do is tell our children that you will not be playing on Saturday or Friday night for that matter. All we have to do, in fact, all we have to do is threaten it. And we've often postulated on this show and wondered aloud, who has the gravitas to issue that statement? Right now, no one in the black community, because most are scared, and no one that has the gravitas that will make people listen. But there is one. All we have to do is make the threat. So if I live in a state where you are practicing voter suppression, well, if my son can't vote in your state, he can't play in your state. Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina. All we have to do is issue the threat. And this is what I'm tying this into what the NCAA did with Rich Paul and LeBron James yesterday. Because this is important. This goes beyond sports, ladies and gentlemen. LeBron James, I would argue right now, has more power in the black community than anyone else. I'm not talking about his basketball prowess. I'm talking about his example. Hello? You get that, right? His example. He bypassed the NCAA. He told people that, hey, look, we don't need the NCAA to become successful. You just heard me say most of these professional black athletes who are broke today, many of their agents were white. Many of their lawyers were white. Many of their financial team were white. Yet they are broke. LeBron James and Rich Paul is offering a new way. He is showing players how to use your influence and your money to leverage positive outcomes. Woo, did you get that? See, because I know a lot of y'all are caught up in who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. That ain't the question. See, the media wants you to focus on that and not look at the real picture. LeBron James is showing other players how to leverage their power and their influence to elicit change. And what'd you say? Well, what has LeBron James changed? I just gave you a litany of that. Schools, college tuition, boys and girls clubs, great father, great role model. They don't want that. So who is that person, I'm saying, that could reach out to young people and say, hey, because see, what the NCAA was attempting to do is silence LeBron. That's what this is really all about. They want to keep their golden calf feeding them. And they want to make sure that no one else gets a piece of the pie. That's where they'll give you little incremental changes, like letting you hire an agent so you can get in the draft, and then you can get out and come back to school. They don't give a damn about their players. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that they don't care. So here's what Dr. Boyce Watkins. Exactly, LaTanya. They already told him to shut up and play ball. See, this is beyond who's better, Michael or LeBron. See, y'all are caught up in an argument that has no merit, that can never be won. You are basically chasing your tail when you have that argument, because they want you to have that argument. You know, I went and I told you all, I listened to a lot of national radio. I listened to a lot of talk radio. And what became clear to me, for 2 straight periods, every show that I listened to nationally focused on LeBron James. There is a concerted effort. You don't think that they are coming for LeBron? You don't think that they are coming for LeBron, whereas they are desperately looking for dirt on the king. Because LeBron James represents a shift in black mentality and black sports mentality. Because you know what's going to happen? Other athletes are going to start looking at LeBron and saying, well, hell, if LeBron can do that, why can't I do that? In fact, many of them already have. And therein lies the problem. You're already seeing a lot of NBA basketball players going to the G League. You're seeing a lot of high school players going to the G League and going. There was a prominent high school player a couple of weeks ago just said that he was going to forego going to college and he was going to go and play overseas where he can make money. This is their fear. This is their fear. Because that $9 million or $8.9 million that they're paying to Coach K will begin to dry up. Those $28 million locker rooms that they're making for players to pretend like, oh, we did this for you. No, you didn't. You did that as a public relations stunt so other athletes will see and say, oh, look at that shiny new thing that they got. I want to go there. Not understanding that when you go there, you're not making any money. There, you're making money for them. You are the $40 million slave. And what the NCAA sought to do yesterday is silence LeBron and his efforts to get black people, black children, young black men to look at him as the role model and say, hey, this is how you do it. This is how we do it. Come join Clutch Sports. That's what this is all about, folks. As I said in the tease, this is beyond sports now. LeBron James has moved into a different stratosphere. He is now the target of white supremacy. And you say, well, wait a minute. The NCAA doesn't represent white supremacy. Really? What the hell are you watching? 70% of the money-making sports players are black kids. The billions of dollars that the NCAA, I just told you how much Coach K makes. $8.9 million. How much of that money is being made off the backs of players? Every damn penny. I gave you what I read to you was the top 10 highest making coaches in the NCAA. That's what I just gave you, folks. Did y'all get that? So let me jump back out here and talk about, since I did basketball, wouldn't it stand to reason that I do football? According to USA Today, I always like to give my sources. Even Bobby Petrino, who coached at Louisville, made $3.9 million last year. Okay. Now, I've got a top 25 list. So let me go back to the 25th, and that was Bobby Petrino. He's number 25 on this list. He's making $3.9 million. He also gets a $500,000 bonus each year if the team's single year NCAA academic at the APR is at least 935. That's number 25 on the list. As I go through here, let me stop at number 15. That's tied with James Franklin. James Franklin, the head football coach at Penn State, makes $4.8 million. By the way, James Franklin is a black man. By the way, there are very few black men that are making these dollars. Hello? In these major PWIs. Let me just say that as well. In fact, as I go through this list, so far, I'm at the top 10 now. Scott Frost, he makes $5 million for Nebraska. Here's another black guy, Lovie Smith at Illinois, but I think he's going to be fired. He makes $5 million. Willie Taggart at Florida, he's making $5 million. He's a brother. Tom Herman, 5.5. Dan Mullen, $6 million. Dabo Sweeney, 6.5. Kirby Smart, 6.6. Gus Malzahn, 6.7. Jimbo Fisher, 7.5. Jim Harbaugh, 7.5. Urban Meyer, win at Ohio State, 7.6. Nick Saban is the number one guy. He makes 8.3. All right. Before incentives last season was more than $11.1 million. And he had a $4 million signing bonus. So what am I saying? I know y'all thinking, well, why am I talking sports on Black Focus Radio? Because sports transcends our community. And our community is being raped because of sports. There is billions of dollars that is being taken out of our community, and we are not getting the return on our investment, which are our children. When are we going to say, hey, we've had enough? And you can simply change the whole dynamics, the whole country's conversation, if you simply say, my kid is not going to play on Sunday. Sorry. My kid's not showing up for the game. My son's got football flu. Don't get me wrong. Those of you who know me, I love football. I grew up football. My body aches every day because of football. When I go to the doctor and they ask me, Mr. Coleman, what's your pain level? You know what I say? They say on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? I always say it's 4. At a minimum, it's 4. On my bad days, like I've been having the last 3 days, it's been like a 7. These people are using our children, making billions of dollars, and then trying to create rules to determine how they can make more money, and you as a parent can't make a dime. And that new rule by the NCAA is directly targeting LeBron James so that others cannot follow in LeBron James's footsteps. Hello, somebody. The white establishment doesn't want any more LeBron Jameses because LeBron James inspires. LeBron James says, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. And not only did he say I can do it, he said, come on along and join me, and I will show you how. Woo! That's big. Because in the past, black people have been suffering because when 1 or 2 of us sign a crock of gold, we don't want to share with nobody else. Well, LeBron James has found the crock of gold, and he's sharing it with everybody else. Not only is he sharing his, but he's telling other people where to go to find their crock of gold. And the the NCAA does not like that. You see, this is big, folks. I know this may have passed over some of you all's head. But I wanted to make sure to take a break from politics, because it annoys me to no end when you teach a black male, when you look at the history of black people, when you go all the way back to Jesse Owens, and how Jesse Owens, he showed white supremacy, because when you talk about Hitler, Hitler was white supremacy. It wasn't the beginning, it was the amalgamation of such. Hitler was white supremacy, but it was Jesse Owens who proved him wrong. And you go back through history, Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron, the Negro Leagues, it goes on and on and on. Kurt Flood, it goes on. Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it goes on and on and on, my brothers and sisters, that they have tried to control us. They've made millions off of us. And none of that comes back to the black community. So what if LeBron James, and I'm going to take a break, what if LeBron James said one thing? See, this is their fear, because LeBron James is that Pied Piper. LeBron James has shown you how you can be successful when you make money, how you give back when you make money, how you stand up as a man when you make money. I keep remembering it was LeBron James when Trayvon Martin was killed that said, we're going to wear these jerseys. We're going to wear these hoodies. I am Trayvon. This is an attack on LeBron and what LeBron is trying to open up for all of you closed-minded Negroes. I'll explain more when I return. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. I'm Dynamic Dave on joinnetradio.com. Good question, LaTanya. I'll tell you right now. So, the highest paid on the football list is Nick Saban. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 coaches ahead of Willie Taggart, who coaches at Florida State. So Nick Saban makes $8.9 million base. Willie Taggart makes $5 million. So Nick Saban is making $4 million more than Willie Taggart. Ironically, the two black coaches that are in the top 25, Lovie Smith, he also makes $5 million as well. And the reason Lovie Smith makes that money is because he was a former NFL player. So NFL coach. So with that comes a little gravitas.
Are delicious and delivered right to your door. Call that number and get in touch today. As a matter of fact, you can drop by. We're located at 6323 Colonel Glenn Road in Little Rock. That's Great American Week.
Hi, I'm attorney Theodore Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matters. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710, in Little Rock. I'm attorney Theodore Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
I'm so glad I found a Kick Above. It's like my very own personal training studio. A Kick Above removed the guesswork and intimidation and offered me a very supportive and structured environment specific to my personal goals. Kim Leverett and her certified personal trainers even offered nutritional guidelines for my personal workout. It's about me at a Kick Above. Call 501-868-8850 or go to akickabove.com. Now, what am I wearing tonight? Thanks to a Kick Above, I look marvelous.
All right, welcome back to the show. If you just tune in, you're probably wondering, why am I talking sports? I'm not talking sports. I'm talking finances. I'm talking money. Because the majority of the money that is made through our community is usually through sports. Y'all remember when they made they did the locker room? It came out a couple of weeks ago at LSU, and LSU was bragging about they had spent $28 million on a locker room. Every athlete has this little cubby hole where they can go in there and lay down. If you've ever taken an international flight, you can actually buy a seat where it has your own privacy. You can lay down, you can sleep. It's just amazing. Well, this is what's in the LSU locker rooms now. And one of the LSU professors came out and said, hey, why would you spend that money, and I'm paraphrasing, on a locker room when we have cracks in our library? People laughed at him. See, that professor don't realize that $28 million that they spent on that locker room came from the same funds that you get your salary from. See, our athletes fund everything at these universities. Everything. Salaries, new wings, new gyms, all of these. See, this is why when they talk about those athletes getting paid, football and basketball athletes, this is why when you throw up the argument that where everybody ought to get paid, no, you shouldn't. Because everybody doesn't make that kind of money. Tell me right now what other sport generates that kind of money from, let's see, the NCAA basketball tournament, $1 billion a year. I would argue that football is about the same. So tell me what other sport on that campus. Pick a campus. Pick the best sport on that campus other than football and basketball, and tell me which one of those sports generates that kind of money. Baseball doesn't even do that. They're lily white sport. You get that, right? And here's the irony, that in baseball, guess what? You can get drafted and get a big name contract and then go back to school. Can't do that in football. Can't do that in basketball. Why is that? Oh, those other sports are mainly black sports. We got to keep our hand on the blacks. Got to make sure that we regulate them. That's what this is all about with LeBron James and Rich Paul. That's what this is all about. They're trying to control those dollars and keep LeBron James from educating people on how they can use their own intellect. See, look, the NCAA didn't get the benefit off of LeBron James's intellectual property. Can you imagine the school and the hype? Y'all remember when remember ESPN started broadcasting all of LeBron's high school basketball games. Y'all don't remember that, do you? Can you imagine? Now here comes LeBron. He's flipped the script on him. He stepped outside. He didn't step outside the box. I've told you, don't say I'm gonna step outside my box, because theoretically you're already in the box. If you're thinking outside the box, even though you're thinking outside, you're still in the box. It's almost like, just imagine, take a 5-inch by 5-inch and imagine it being in your wall right now. And you can put your face up to that 5 by 5 inch hole and you can look out and you can see everything in the world. And you can imagine yourself being outside of that hole that you're in. But guess what? You're still in that hole. So what you got to start doing is thinking outside, period. If you think outside, then your mindset is that I'm not in a hole, I never was in a hole, and I'm moving forward to stay out of that hole. That's what LeBron James has done. LeBron has, look, he's taken the media, he's got a HBO special. People mad at him because he does Taco Tuesdays now. LeBron James is the owner of his IP. They're not teaching our children to own their IP. That IP is you. Yet they'll take you to college and they'll sell your jersey in the bookstore and make millions off of your jersey, but you won't get a penny. But don't break your leg. Don't break your back. Don't tear an ACL. See, LeBron James has flipped the script on them, and they are concerned. Because think about it. The majority of those men in those rooms in the NCAA are white men. White men do nothing but make sure that they maintain the status quo. Look around you. Look at what's happening in this country right now. All of this animus about racial hatred is by white men who are afraid of losing the status quo. Y'all get it now, right? Yeah, I know I took you all around by Sally's house, but I wanted you to see how all of this applies. White men right now are afraid because all of a sudden people are challenging them. They are saying what you've done, your status quo is inept and it is discriminatory and it has to stop. And they are doing everything they can legally to try to maintain it. And that's what this rule is about Rich Paul. Now, if LeBron James really wanted to be a badass, you know what LeBron James should do? He should immediately tell all of these kids to boycott college sports. Oh God, what are you saying, David? That's crazy. My son got to get a degree. What if he breaks his leg? Oh, that's right. He can get a Pell Grant. Well, they don't call them Pell Grants anymore. You can fill out the FAFSA. And then he can get a loan. And then he can be in debt like the majority of a lot of these millennials who've been lied to say, oh, get a college degree. See, that's the other aspect of this, is that there are a whole lot of people who have made money off the backs of students who have gotten worthless degrees. So the NCAA has a vested interest for you to keep paying for those student loans. Because all of that money is a big circle going to white people, white establishments. Hello? Y'all follow me yet? So what if LeBron James, and Dr. Watkins said this on the piece that I listened to earlier today. What if LeBron James, and see, that's why I started the show with reminding you of the football boycott by the Missouri football team. That's why I reminded you that, hey, when the revolution comes, it won't be televised. It's going to be on the internet when the revolution comes. And what you got to do is be prepared for it. We don't have to fire a shot, my brothers and sisters. We don't have to take up any arms. Our weapons are our children. I've told you that over and over again, that if you go back and you study history, you go back and look at any movement across the world, it was started by children, young people. LeBron James is that Messiah. They fear him. They fear LeBron James because of his power. And if LeBron James told these kids, man, don't go to college, come join. And then you look at this other thing where with Ice Cube, this 3-on-3 where it has taken hold, y'all should be very, very afraid. LeBron James is a leader. And I know some of you all don't see it. Some of you all don't get it because you all have been brainwashed. You have been brainwashed by the media. Thanks, Cliff. I've seen this. You want to fix this problem? Let's stop it. Let's stop it. Let's start telling our young people that they do have power. They do have power. They do have control. The problem is, you all are afraid to tell them. Because change is difficult. But see, we can change this whole thing right now by simply telling our kids not to play. And that's what Dr. Watkins said. But see, they're not going to listen to me. I'm just a lowly talk show host. But they'll listen to someone like LeBron James. They'll listen to LeBron. And see, the thing with me, LeBron James has the cojones to do it. Now, y'all be careful now, because here's what's about to happen. The dirt diggers on the black man are in full effect now. Think about it. Remember that scandal the last couple of years? Here are the people that got in trouble. Chuck Person for Auburn. Tony Bland for Southern California. Emmanuel Richardson from Arizona. And Lamont Evans from Oklahoma State. What do all of those men have in common? They're black. None of their coaches got in trouble. None of their coaches got fined. All of them are black. The coaches argue that they were doing this unbeknownst to me. When we know that's a damn lie. So LeBron James is that Messiah for the black community. LeBron James before he's over with, he's going to change this whole mindset, and white people are scared. That's why you see them going after him every chance they get. It's fascinating to listen to national news, national sports, and see the hatred. And they'll always preference their remarks with, oh, well, I love LeBron James as a basketball player. But that's what this is really all about, folks. They're trying to control your money. Just think about this. What if every black player, and I know this is impossible, let's say if LeBron took 25 black players from whatever sport it might be, and they followed the LeBron James playbook. Think about that. Number one, they would bring their millions of dollars back to their communities in which they learned their trade. Think about how that would empower our communities. in bringing those millions of dollars back, they would also provide jobs. Think about how that would empower our communities. In providing those jobs, they would also launch small businesses who could then hire young black men. Woo! Y'all get this? See, what I found with black people is that when you start connecting the dots with black people about white supremacy, they get lost in the shuffle because they can't believe anyone is that smart. Let me give you prima facie evidence number one. Let's forget about slavery and the black codes and Jim Crow and the Red Summer, which we still reside in today, which we are commemorating today. Let's forget all of that happened. Let's forget all of that was by design. You get this? What about the civil rights struggle? What about Ronald Reagan calling black people monkeys that just was released last week? What about him doing that on the phone with another president, Richard M. Nixon? What about the Southern strategy? What about Lyndon Baines Johnson teaching the white man, the poorest white man, that he is better than the richest black man, will allow Republicans to pick his pocket. In fact, he would even open up his pockets. What about that? Those were designed strategies that didn't work overnight, but the culmination of those strategies work today. Look at all the Republican state houses. That was done, in fact, by the Southern strategy. Hello. So those, you black people out there who want to say, well, oh, Dave, you're just being hyperbolic. Nobody's that smart. See, white people don't plan for tomorrow like we do. See, most of us have to live from paycheck to paycheck. So that only gives us the opportunity to see as far as tomorrow. It doesn't give us the opportunity to see 10, 20, 40, 50 years down the line, and even further than that when we're dead, because we don't have that scratch capital. They do. And they think about it. They plan about it. That's what they've been doing for decades. Now, what if LeBron James said, hey, let me get the top 25 athletes, and I'm going to teach you the LeBron James manual of how to build your community. Because he's definitely doing that in Akron. How do you build a community you hear Robert Webb say it all the time. You build a great community with your schools, with your children. Hello. So LeBron James has done that. He's went and started, not only did he start a school, he's also sending those kids to college. What if those 25 athletes, what athletes do we have here who were professionals? Joe Johnson, Sidney Moncrief. Now, Sidney obviously wasn't earning that kind of money that they're earning today. But think about your community. Bobby Portis, from what I understand, is about to have an event here. Why are you charging, Bobby? What if you came from the LeBron James playbook and said, or Steve McNair, because I saw him do this as well, I'm going to give back to my community from which I reside. I'm going to build, I'm going to have a basketball camp, but I'm also going to have a book reading camp, or I'm also going to I'm going to build a school, not a charter school, but a public school, so every student will be able to get there. You remember what LeBron did? Not only did he build the school, but he gave all those kids in that school a bike. You know why he gave them a bike? Because he said he remembered riding around, going back and forth to basketball camps and basketball gyms on a bike. Hello? What if those 25 athletes that LeBron James singles out and they go back to their communities and do what LeBron is doing in his? What would your community look like? How many more doctors would come out of that community? How many engineers would come out of that community? Remember I told you, see, I'm tired of athletes. I love them. I was one. But we don't need any more athletes. We need doctors. We need lawyers. We need engineers. We need architects. We need teachers. We need those people who understand building our community. It is pretty clear that they're not going to build it. We have to build it ourselves. What if those 25 athletes that LeBron James identifies and says, hey, I'm going to teach you the LeBron way, how to give back to your community, how to build your community, how to take your investments and double your investments. What if those athletes did what LeBron is doing? How would that change your community? So you have to understand now. I hope I've made it clear to you. I've sat here for 2 hours breaking it down for you. I hope you now realize what I'm trying to say to you, that we have the power, and that power is in our children. And every Saturday in 3 weeks, we're going to be packing stadiums. We're going to be packing bars. We're going to be renting cars and going to the game to see our black children perform on a stage in which they are not being paid. And the majority, 90% of the people who are making the money are white. And 90% of the people who are doing the labor are black. That's called a $40 million slave. That's why they're afraid of LeBron. Because LeBron flies in the face of every lie that they've told. Oh, you need college sports to make it to the pros. LeBron didn't. And what you all don't realize, there were quite a few athletes back in the day who went straight to basketball. Moses Malone, Hall of Famer, is one of them. Artis Gilmore, the A-Train, is another one. But see, they've lied to you and told you, hey, you got to go to college to get to the pros. And in the meantime, we're going to laugh all the way to the bank. What you need something to eat? Oh, man, come on. Then you go down to the Easy Mart that's right off campus and you steal something out of the Easy Mart because you were hungry. And then your coach suspends you. And you say, well, coach, wait a minute. Kobe Bryant is another one. You're exactly right. You say, well, wait a minute, coach. The reason I stole those cheese and crackers is because I was hungry. And you know, the lunchroom doesn't open till 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm hungry. Well, you know, son, that's not the value that we teach on here. We're going to have to suspend you. Coach didn't even hear the fact that you were hungry. That same coach that's making $9 million a year. Or let's go back down the list. That same coach, the 25th highest paid coach in America, the 25th highest is Bobby Petrino. He's making $3.9 million. He probably went out and bought him a new motorcycle. You all understand what I'm saying here? We have the power. LeBron James represents that power. So here is what I would ask you to do. I don't care if LeBron James isn't on your favorite team. I don't care if you think that Michael Jordan is the best basketball player we've ever seen. I don't care about that. What you should be concerned about is that LeBron James is a black man who has changed the culture of an industry, which is the NBA. And not only that, he is an excellent role model. And I need to warn you, as Dr. Watkins did, that they're coming for LeBron. They're coming for LeBron. You know it. You know, I would not be surprised if there's someone watching him 24/7 to get dirt on LeBron. You know it is. This black man is too powerful. He's got too much money. He commands too much attention. They're coming for him. And my question to you, my brothers and sisters, are you going to get caught up in an argument of who's the better basketball player? Or are you going to stand with the person who's proven that he's the better man? Take away his money. Based on what we know about LeBron James, because you know your character will always show regardless of how much money you have. See, I believe that even if LeBron James wasn't a superstar basketball player, he would still be doing the same things or attempting to that he's doing now in one way or another. That's character. That's character, folks. And the question that we got to start asking ourselves, if you take away LeBron James, the great basketball player, would you want him to marry your daughter? And I guarantee you, every one of you out there would say yes. As tough as I am on guys and my daughter, I'm tough on women and my son. But oh yeah, I'd want him to marry my daughter. So you got to understand what this thing is about Rich Paul. I hope I was able to break it down for you. Simplistic enough that you can go and start talking about it to your friends. This is beyond basketball now, folks. When the NCAA passes a rule to purposely target a black man's business, they've gone beyond the pale. But it shouldn't surprise you, because this is what white supremacy does. This is no more than the raids that the white people did during the Red Summer. They're just doing it intellectually now. So the Red Summer on LeBron has begun. And my question to you, my black brothers and sisters, and my white brothers and sisters who are of like minds, are you going to stand by and allow it to happen? Or are you going to stand with us who believe not just in the greatness of LeBron James, but the greatness of a black people? I got to go. I'm going to leave you with a quote that I said earlier this morning to a friend when we were talking about this, because it's really about freedom. Malcolm X, I adore Malcolm X. He once said, you get your freedom by letting your enemy know that you're willing to do anything to be free. Then and only then will you be free. Are you ready to be free? Your actions will dictate that one way or the other. Y'all have a great day.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on jointradio.com.